Joe, you didn't want a pennant race, did you?
Well, I mean, we said all along, we thought that, our division would come down to the end. We said in spring training, even when we had the lead, we said, it's probably going to come down to the end. There are a lot of good teams in the American League East, and that's what's happening.
What happened, though? Why did a 10-game lead at one point go down to 0? What do you think happened?
I mean, it's a number of things. We went through periods where we didn't swing the bat well. We went through periods where we didn't pitch well. We lost some guys to injury. I mean, there's a number of things that happened to us, and we've had to deal with it, but, we're still fighting through it.
84 days you were in first place with the lead, sole possession, and then it goes away. Was that something just on an optic that you were upset about, that you had a lead and all of a sudden it was gone? You were still in first, but it was gone.
Right. No, because the guys were giving effort. I mean, I'm not complaining about their effort. They were doing the best they could. And when we went out there and things were just happening for us, and the other clubs went through it, and you just don't know when it's going to happen to your club. And, you hope it doesn't happen, but you got to assume that at some point you're going to go through some tough times.
Fans seem to really fixate on the word panic, because fans, I think, panic. And, we asked you this last week as well, and your team reacts angrily when you bring up panic. Derek says, I've never panicked. What do you do when you panic? But do you sense that as the lead was starting to move down, that there was more of a sense of urgency?
Well, I think our club plays with a sense of urgency every day. I mean, these guys are professionals, and they understand, that you can win a division by a lot. You try to win the division by the lot. We don't take our foot off the gas. We went through a lot, and we struggled. And I always laugh, when people say the word panic, because I said, if I see all of our guys run out of the stadium at the same time, then they're panicking. But they show up every day. They prepare themselves. They prepare themselves the same way, whether we win a game or lose a game. They're the same guys, and that's what I like about this group.
How about pressing? Do you think that at times when the lead's going away that some of the guys start to press and try to do too much and try too hard?
Yeah, I don't know, Mike. I mean, they look the same to me, and I don't see them, their personalities changing. When I watch them stretch and they go about their business, they're the same in the clubhouse every day. So I don't know how you press. I mean, I really don't. Because once you get into the game, your instincts take over and you just play a game. You don't think about whether you're 2 games up, whether you're 10 games up. You don't think about it. You just play the game.
I'm curious about you. When the team is struggling the way it did, and almost for a quarter of the season it played under 500 ball, that's why the 10-game lead went away. Do you find it hard to sleep? I mean, do you take it home with you?
No, I really don't. I think you have to keep in perspective, and I even talk to our guys about keep this in perspective. If you were to talk about going into September and you had a 2 or 3 game lead, if you said that in spring training, how many guys would sign up for it? How many, you would have signed up for it? So, I said all along that this was going to be a tough division. We said that from day one, and that's exactly what it's been.
All right, so now you're in a pennant race. Maybe one of the reasons you're in a pennant race, you've got some veteran guys that they broke down, and you have some significant injuries, which we'll talk about in the next segment. But the amount of veterans and the amount of age you have on your team, does that play in your favor because they've been there and they've done that and they had the T-shirt?
I don't know. Obviously, I don't think they're going to be overwhelmed by the situation. I don't ever worry about it with this group. But as I said, once you get in between the lines, you forget about all that stuff. And someone asked me the question, Baltimore, they're young, they have nothing to lose. Well, when you're tied for first place in September, you have something to lose. I'm sure they think about it. This is not like what they went through last year where they played spoiler and they really had nothing to lose. Tampa's the same way. We all have something to lose, and I think, players just go out and play.
You won the last game of the series in Tampa. Mm-hmm. How big was that before a fairly long flight? I mean, was that... There's no must-win unless it's mathematical. But was that one that you really wanted?
No, I think it's a big win, especially when you're playing a divisional opponent that you're trying to put space between you and you're trying to win the division. They're not going to go away with the club that they have, so I think it was a big win.
In one of the games, and you didn't want to talk about this with the media, but since this is your show, I'll ask, you got thrown out by Tony Randazzo. And I've known you a long time. I don't know if I've ever seen you more angry than that. What was that about?
No, I've been much worse than that.
Well, your face got really red.
Well, it was red because I didn't think I should have been thrown out. That was the, So, as I said, I'm not really going to comment on it. We've moved on, and that's over with.
All right, you had a team meeting on Wednesday before that game that you won. You're not a big team meeting guy. No. What goes on in that meeting, and where was it held? Was it in your office?
No, with all the guys that we have, it's not going to fit in my office anymore. So, we had it in the clubhouse, and it was just kind of where we're at and what we need to do, and let's focus on what we need to focus on in a sense. Not that I think our guys had lost any focus, but keep it in perspective where we're at and what we need to do and just go do it.
So, if I can judge it from the outside looking in, was it more of a calming thing rather than you jumping them?
Yeah, very seldom will you ever see me jump a player, just because I know they're giving their best effort, and I've seen it from them.
You played for several managers. Who gave best meeting?
Oh, I was in some good ones where some guys could yell, and you would think about it when you went home because the manager or I've been in meetings with pitching coaches with pitchers and catchers where they could get pretty hot too.
Okay, but this was not one of those meetings?
No.
Now, did any of the players talk? Because I read in the paper that Alex and Derek had something to say.
Yeah, I think players are allowed to speak. I mean, that's who I am. When we have a meeting, it's an open forum. It's a dialogue. It's not a monologue. And if I want it to be a monologue, I can make it a monologue. But, for me, I thought it was important that our veteran guys speak as well.
Now, do you say in this meeting, Derek, I want you to talk, Alex,
No.
I want you to talk? You just, if they want to?
In meetings a lot of times I'll talk and I'll say, does anyone have something? And I let it go.
All right, now you go to Baltimore, and I've always wondered about this in all kind of sports, Joe. You're losing 6-1 going to the 8th inning on Thursday. You score 5 runs.
Yeah.
So uplifting. And it's 6-6. And then you give up 4 runs in the bottom of the inning, and you lose 10-6. Would it have been better to lose 6-1?
I don't know. When you're playing the team that you're fighting for the division and with another team right on your tail, I don't really think it matters. I don't think you're going to think about in 3 days. Oh, that game.
Do some losses hurt more than the other?
Well, I think they can. I think they can when you feel like you give a game away. But that was a game that we clawed back and then we lost it in the 8th.
What was impressive though is the very next night you come out and you put up a 7 spot, a 3-run home run by Martin. Then Alex Rodriguez hits a home run as well. All of your runs came on home runs. Steve Pearce, the other 2. What did that show you about the resiliency of this team?
Well, I've said all along this is a resilient group, and this is a group that knows how to go about their business and has been here before and knows how to fight, knows how to play the game. So from that standpoint, I don't worry about them being ready to go the next day after a loss.